Oh, today I am bushwhacking my way through the woods to arrive at a spawning shoal used by shoal bass at a spring in this particular river. And sometimes to find some truly special fishing experiences, you have to do some unusual stuff, like bushwhacking your way through a woods to find a creek that you know is over here somewhere. It's almost like a bad nursery rhyme. Over the river and through the woods to the shoal bass home we go. It's even better doing this in salt bottom shoes, of course. It grips so well on loose leaves. These are the lengths that we go to pursue our favorite fish, the black bass. Particularly these kinds of black bass, like shoal bass that live in often hard to reach areas. But that's all part of the fun. Or at least that's what I keep telling myself. Well, a little further on, I finally hit the path that I knew was here. A little easier than bushwhacking your way through the woods. A little far inland. And over there I can hear, I'm sure you can too, there is a water here. It's not all just leaf-covered mountainsides. There is a stream here. Not just any stream. This is one of the very few places left that harbor shoal bass in the Chattahoochee River Basin. Population has ebbed and flowed over the years. Seems to be in a slight ebb right now. I can see already that the creek is up. We had 5 inches plus of rain about a week ago, and this is pretty low on the creek. Shoal bass creeks are not like red-eye bass creeks for the most part. They're much bigger, they drain a larger area, and it takes them much longer to get down. This one here is probably fishable. It's not great, but it's fishable, particularly since I know it so well. And I know where I can go and catch some fish. So I expect to catch a few fish today, but it's certainly not going to be at its peak. But it'll give us some time to talk about shoal bass, spawning shoals, and the importance of protecting them. So, this is a shoal bass spawning shoal. And by definition, it is exactly as the name says. It's a large shoal where shoal bass come to spawn. These are usually really large areas. They're ones you can see from a map. A lot of them have names. It's on larger rivers. Yellow Jacket Shoals over on the Flint River is an obvious one. There's many more. But this has the distinction of being the only large shoal on this entire river. And this is where they all spawn for the most part. We did a radio tracking study here about 6-7 years ago. We tagged 40-some shoal bass up and down this entire river. And over a 3-week period in late March, early April, 96% of them were all found here. And then they dispersed afterwards. So if you want to know why spring is such an awesome time to go catch shoal bass, they aggregate to spawn, a lot like the hybrid striped bass I talked about in a previous video. However, these are not broadcast spawners, and they come and they build their nests in here, but they obviously don't mind company, because a lot of times they're right on top of each other, hidden by a rock here and there. I don't think they like that much company, but still. These areas are shallow, wadeable. A few holes would be over your head, but most of it's wadeable. They prefer that kind of, a mosaic, if you will, of fast and slow water, deep and shallow water with lots of rocks. They spawn often underneath or behind the rocks, or sometimes on top of the rocks. They don't really build nests as you would expect them, like we see smallmouth bass or largemouth bass doing. Instead, they spawn in pretty much just a little cleared off area on a rock. It's very common. And if you didn't see the fish there guarding it, you'd never know there was a nest there. But anyway, we're going to get out here and see what we can do, see what we can catch, and see how many times I fall in. Water clarity is not quite as bad as it looked from above. That's pretty common. A lot of times off-colored water looks worse the farther away you see it. I would guess the water clarity here is maybe about 2 feet. I've caught fish out of this plenty of times, so we'll see if I can make it happen again today. So I called an audible and came upstream a bit from where I was. When you're fishing stained water, there's a few things that you really should do, there's a few things you can do to maximize your success. And one of the things at the top of the list is fish where the fish are, or where you found them last. And I was just here a week ago, and I found fish up here, biting fish, and so I decided to stop screwing around down there where I've caught fish in the past, and I did not fish there last week, but I don't know if they're there. I know there's fish up here. So you want to limit the amount of walking around and searching you have to do, because it's really hard to find good spots when you can't see more than 2 feet in the water. It's also somewhat dangerous to be walking out here. This is not for novices. If you haven't been to this area before, you're better off leaving and coming back on a better, more clarity day, because you can really get yourself into a pickle if you're not careful. And if you're not a novice, but you've never been to a particular area before, 2 feet visibility is not the best time to try to learn where the safe places to walk are and where the water is over your head, because you're going to find that out in the least attractive way possible. So those are two things that I definitely think, the reason that I come out here and can catch fish in really stained water is that I know this shoal really well. I fished here for almost 15 years now. I know some really shallow areas that even when the water's this high, I can get out in safely, and I know the places to avoid. When I fish here at normal water levels, I crawl all over this shoal, but today I'm going to fish a very small area of it, because that's where I've caught fish before under these conditions, and I know I can safely wade there, and not all of this stuff would fall into that category. So something to think about. You can catch fish under these conditions, but you really need to know the area pretty well, and you need to be safe. Yep, first cast. Another, nice fish. This one looks like probably a male, possibly guarding the nest. That fish was set up right in the front of those, where you see all those swirls. That's a ledge, and it was not behind the ledge, it's sitting out in front of the ledge. I can't tell you how many times I've caught shoal bass sitting out in front of ledges. Very strange, it's not what you would expect, but there you go. The proof is in the pudding, as they say. So another beautiful fish, and we're going to throw him back. Notice that he's all colored up, even though he's coming out of pretty muddy water. That's unusual. A lot of times muddy water washes fish out, but I've noticed that both the fish I've caught so far have been pretty much colored up like normal. About 2 minutes later, I catch this thing. So this is a fish. Notice it's got a very blue face. Notice it's got a really big mouth, but it doesn't really have too much in the way of shoal bass coloration. Kind of greenish, not very bronze. There's horizontal rows, but basically no tooth patch. Just a tiny little nub that you can't even see. You can barely feel it. This, my friends, is the classic Chattahoochee hybrid bass. Almost certainly a cross between spotted bass and shoal bass. These are the fish. This is a really big one too, by the way, for this area of the Chattahoochee. If I had to guess, I'd guess this fish has 3 species in them. This is almost certainly a hybrid Alabama spotted bass, and then also on top of that it's got shoal bass genes in it, so it's a 3-way at least. If it has some largemouth in there, who knows. What this fish really is dead, because even though we don't really have anything called shoal bass conservation areas, at least officially, this is one I consider to be that, and I don't tolerate this species in this particular stream. Anyone I catch is dead, and all hybrids are killed as well. There's only 3 or 4 pure populations of shoal bass left, and all of them aren't really pure anyway. They have a lot of these dang things in there too. Pretty fish, fun fight, but not what we're looking for. Here's one of those little squeakers. It's one of those little guys I was talking about that coming out of muddy water, or stained water anyway. They have almost no coloration. Here's a perfect example of a shoal bass. The only thing that tells you shoal bass is that black spot, which once I turn the tail enough, you can finally see it. That black spot at the base of the tail. It's another one of those things, honestly, that's easier to see in person than the camera can catch. But this is a small, I'm sure, probably male shoal bass up in the shallows. He had no problem chomping that down. But yeah, this is what I was expecting to see more of. Not necessarily this size as much as just no color, no markings. So typical for fish in stained or muddy water. Another one of those nondescript shoal bass. See, it's starting to color up a little bit, but no tooth patch, so this has to be a shoal bass. But man, certainly suspicious looking, although it was caught right where a shoal bass would be, right out on the left side of that rock, right in the thick of the current. Just unbelievable how these fish set up in that stuff in these little pockets and just dart out and crush it. And he did. He crushed that worm like it was a damn crankbait. Pretty amazing, really. But yeah, these are pretty cool fish to fish for. Yeah, look at the color that you're seeing now out of this fish. Isn't that amazing? This wally's been sitting in my hand. Very cool. Now you can really see that tail spot. Crazy, crazy, crazy.